Welcome back, my prowling friends. I see you've returned to my den, searching for stories that claw at your soul. Good. I have a fresh tale for you. One that reeks of desperation, ambition, and the terrible price of being unseen. But first, if you're new to the pack, subscribe. Join us in the shadows. We're just getting started. Now, let us dim the house lights. But don't worry. The spotlight always finds you. Eventually. The final performance. Chapter 1. The stage is set. Backstage at the Hartley Playhouse, the air crackled with nervous energy. Sebastian clapped his hands, gathering the small cast around him. All right, darlings, this is it. Tonight, we make history. Tonight, we save this company. Grace twisted her hands together, excitement and anxiety playing across her face. Do you really think people will film it? Film it? Sebastian's eyes gleamed. They'll make it viral. By tomorrow morning, every news outlet will be talking about what happened at the Hartley. One of the other actors laughed nervously. This is either genius or we're all getting arrested. It's art, Sebastian declared, his hand sliding to Grace's lower back with easy familiarity. Provocative, dangerous, alive. This theater hasn't felt alive in years. He turned to the man checking props in the corner. George, you're comfortable with the prop gun? George looked up from the table. All set. Sebastian crossed over and gave him a condescending pat on the shoulder. Good man. George's expression didn't change. He went back to arranging the props in their precise positions. The same routine he'd done before every show for years. The house lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the audience. On stage, the play unfolded exactly as rehearsed. A modest production. Nothing spectacular. Just the kind of safe, predictable material the Hartley had been producing for years. The audience watched politely, some checking their phones. Then, 12 minutes in, a man in the third row stood up. "This is bullshit," he shouted. Heads turned. The actors on stage faltered. Perfectly choreographed hesitation. "You people sit here," the man continued, his voice shaking with anger. "Watching your little plays while the crew hasn't been paid in 3 months. Another audience member gasped. Someone pulled out their phone, started filming. George, who'd been standing stage right, stepped forward. His voice was calm, measured. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to..." "Ask me to what?" The planted heckler was committed now, moving toward the stage. "Sit down and be quiet while you people pretend everything's fine." Sebastian watched from the wings, barely suppressing a smile. It was working. Phones were out everywhere now. George moved between the heckler and the other actors, his body language protective but non-threatening. The reliable mediator, always George, who smoothed things over. "Let's just talk about this," George said. Then another audience member stood, then another. The planted chaos bloomed exactly as Sebastian had scripted it. The confrontation escalated, voices overlapped, accusations flying. One of the planted audience members, a woman in her 50s, was crying now, talking about her son who'd worked backstage, how he'd been let go without severance. The other actors on stage looked genuinely uncomfortable. They were good at their jobs. George raised his hands, trying to restore order. "Everyone, please." No, the original heckler was at the stage now, climbing up. "No more, please. No more waiting our turn while you people..." The man lunged forward. George pulled the gun from his waistband, a prop revolver, clearly fake under the stage lights but convincing enough in the chaos. The audience gasped. Phones lifted higher. "That's enough," George said, his voice harder now. He leveled the gun at the heckler, who froze with his hands up. Perfect choreography. The crying woman screamed. Another planted audience member shouted, "Someone call the police!" Sebastian watched from the wings, his smile widening. This was it. This was the moment that would save them. George held the gun steady, his other hand raised to calm the crowd. The reliable mediator. Even now. Everyone stay calm. Nobody needs to get hurt. Then he stopped moving. Chapter 2. Off script. The heckler, still in character, started to speak, but George wasn't listening anymore. His eyes had gone distant, then focused with terrifying clarity on the wings. "Sebastian," George said. His voice was different now, quieter. "Get on stage." The heckler faltered mid-sentence. That wasn't in the script. Sebastian stepped forward slightly, still in the wings, trying to catch George's eye. A subtle signal. "Stay on track." "Sebastian," George's voice cut through the manufactured chaos like a blade. "Stage, now." The other actors exchanged glances. Was this still part of it? George was improvising. They did that sometimes, kept things fresh. But something in his tone. Grace moved toward him instinctively. "George, maybe we should stay there, Grace." He didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on the wings. "Sebastian, I won't ask again." The audience leaned forward in their seats. This was incredible. The tension was suffocating. Sebastian had no choice. He stepped into the light, arms spread in that theatrical way of his, already spinning it. "Darling George, this is magnificent work truly, but perhaps we should tell them about the script." Sebastian's smile flickered. Well, yes. This piece we're performing is actually a commentary on not this script. George's hands were shaking now. The planted heckler beside him had gone very still. "My script. The one Grace gave you. March 14th. Grace's face went pale. "George, what are you? You told me you'd read it, Sebastian. You said it needed work. More character depth, you said. So I rewrote it. Then you said the pacing was off. So I rewrote it again." Sebastian's face went blank for just a fraction of a second. Then he recovered, that theatrical mask sliding back into place. "George, darling, we can discuss your work after. You don't remember it, do you?" George's voice was almost gentle now. "Sad. The lighthouse keeper's daughter? Of course I remember. It just needs..." "What's it about, Sebastian?" Silence. Sebastian's mouth opened, then closed. The audience was completely still, phones recording every second. Grace's hand went to her mouth. "Oh God, George, he told me he loved it. He said he lied to you, Grace." George finally looked at her. "He lies to everyone. It's what he does." Sebastian tried to laugh it off. "George, this is hardly the time for..." "5 times," George's voice cracked. 5 drafts, 5 rewrites. After the next show, George. After the holidays, George. After we do the Tennessee Williams, George. He gestured at the chaos around them with the gun. "And then this. Your script. Your brilliant promotional stunt. And who did you cast as the desperate man with nothing left to lose?" The other actors were backing away slowly. This wasn't improvisation anymore. "The reliable one," George continued. "Good old George. He'll do it. He always does what he's told. Sebastian's hand tightened on Grace's arm. A subtle, possessive gesture. George saw it. Of course he saw it. When did it start? George asked quietly. Grace pulled away from Sebastian slightly, her face flushing. George, this isn't about when. George's eyes were locked on Sebastian now. Was it during the Chekhov? The Pinter? He paused. Or was it while I was rewriting Act 2 of the Lighthouse play because you said Grace's character needed more agency? The gun was still pointed at the heckler, but no one was paying attention to that anymore. Not even the heckler, who stood frozen, unsure if he should stay in character or run. Sebastian's jaw tightened. George, whatever you think you know. I don't think, Sebastian. I know. I've known for months. George's voice was eerily calm now. I'd stay late, working on rewrites at the theater, using the Wi-Fi because mine got shut off. Couldn't quite afford the bill after buying those opening night flowers for Grace. Grace made a small sound. George didn't acknowledge it. I'd hear you too. In your office, laughing. He swallowed. I wrote her a love letter in that script, Sebastian. The lighthouse keeper who watches the publican's daughter from afar, knowing she'll never see him as anything but part of the scenery, knowing she'll fall for the visiting ship captain instead, the one who's charming and worldly, and only there for a season. Christ, George, Sebastian started. You never even opened it, did you? Just dropped it in a drawer with all the other scripts from nobodies like me. Chapter 3. Epiphany. The audience had gone completely silent. Even the planted actors had abandoned their roles, transfixed by what was unfolding. Grace took a step toward George, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know. George, I swear I thought he'd read it. I told him how talented you were, how much time you'd put into it. I know you did. George's voice softened when he spoke to her. You were trying to help. You've always been kind to me, Grace. That's what made it worse. Made what worse? Her voice was barely a whisper. Loving you. He said it simply, like stating a fact. I took you for coffee 14 times, walked you home after rehearsals, listened to you talk about your dreams, your fears, your terrible auditions in the city. I thought I was doing it right, being respectful, being patient. Sebastian shifted uncomfortably. George, if this is some kind of... How long did it take you, Sebastian, to get her into bed? George's eyes were cold now. A week? 2? That's enough, Sebastian snapped, his pretense of calm cracking. You don't get to... 3 weeks, George interrupted, his gaze flicking to Grace's face. It was 3 weeks. I know, because that's when you stopped having coffee with me. Said you were too busy with extra rehearsals. Grace was sobbing now, quiet and broken. I waited a year, Grace. A whole year. And he took 3 weeks. Chapter 4. Lighthouse. George let out a short, bitter laugh, as if he'd heard the thought himself. You know what's funny? Everyone always said I was so patient. Patient George. Steady George, like it was a virtue. He looked down at the prop gun in his hand, then back at Sebastian. But patience is just another word for invisible, isn't it? The patient man gets overlooked, gets forgotten, gets his scripts left unread in a drawer while the director makes love to the woman he loves in his office. Several audience members gasped. This was far beyond immersive theater now. People were whispering, uncertain. A few had started moving toward the exits. "Nobody leaves." George's voice cut through the murmurs. He raised the gun slightly, still pointed at the heckler, but the implication was clear. Nobody leaves until the end. That's how theater works, isn't it, Sebastian? We stay for the whole performance. Sebastian's face had gone pale. "George, put the gun down. This has gone far enough." "Has it?" George tilted his head. "Because I don't think we've reached the climax yet. Every good play needs a climax, doesn't it? That's what you told me. Act 3 needs stakes, George. Needs consequence." He reached into his pocket with his free hand and pulled out a folded stack of papers, tossed them at Sebastian's feet. "That's draft 5. The final one. I finished it 2 days ago, after you told me we'd do it next season for sure." Sebastian stared down at the papers but didn't pick them up. His theatrical composure was crumbling, replaced by something closer to genuine fear. George turned to Grace. "Would you like to know what happens at the end of the Lighthouse play?" She shook her head, but he continued anyway. "The keeper realizes the daughter will never love him, that the captain will leave and break her heart, and she'll cry to the keeper about it because he's her friend, her confidant. He'll comfort her, she'll thank him, and then she'll fall for the next captain who sails into port." His voice was steady, almost conversational now. "So, the keeper makes a choice. He can keep tending the light, warning ships away, staying useful and invisible. Or," he paused, and in that pause, something shifted in the room. A collective held breath. "Or he can extinguish it. Let one ship crash. Just once. Let everyone see what happens when the lighthouse goes dark." Grace's eyes widened. "George, you asked me once why I loved theater," he said softly, looking at her with an expression that was almost tender. "I told you it was because for 2 hours, ordinary people get to matter, get to be seen." He glanced out at the audience. Dozens of phones still recording, faces pale in the glow of screens. "Looks like I finally have my audience." Chapter 5, Finale. From his other pocket, he pulled out a knife, not a prop. The stage lights caught the edge. Real, sharp, deliberate. Sebastian took an involuntary step back. "Jesus Christ, George." The prop gun clattered to the stage floor. George didn't need it anymore. "George, please." Grace's voice broke. "Don't do this. Whatever you're feeling, we can..." "Can what? Talk about it?" George smiled, but there was no humor in it. "I'm done talking, Grace. I've been talking for years, writing for years, waiting for years." He looked down at the knife in his hand, then back at Sebastian. "You know what the lighthouse keeper says? In the play you never read?" He didn't wait for an answer. He says, "Every night I light the lamp. Every night the ships change course. They never stop. They never wave. But I tell myself, they're safe because of me. That has to be enough, doesn't it? Doesn't it have to be enough?" His voice cracked on the final question, the desperate plea of a man who already knows the answer. But it's not enough. It was never enough. Sebastian was backing toward the wings now, his theatrical bravado completely gone. "Someone call the police. Now!" But no one moved. The audience was paralyzed, caught between disbelief and the horrible realization that this was real. George turned to Grace one last time. "I just wanted to be seen. Just once." She was reaching for him now, tears streaming down her face, finally closing the distance between them. "I see you, George. I see you now." Someone in the audience whispered, "Holy shit, is this real?" Another voice answered, "It has to be part of it, right?" A few people were already starting to clap. Slow, appreciative applause for what they thought was the brilliant climax Sebastian had promised them. "Too late," George whispered, and then he drew the blade across his own throat. The applause faltered, then stopped abruptly as blood sprayed across the stage. Grace screamed and lunged forward, catching him as he fell. His blood soaked into her costume, warm and impossibly red under the stage lights. She cradled his head in her lap, her hands pressing uselessly against the wound. No, George, stay with me, please." The audience erupted. Real screams now, not planted ones. People rushing for the exits, shoving past each other. Someone was shouting about calling 911. Phones still recording, capturing everything. Sebastian stood frozen, his face white as paper, watching his promotional stunt become a nightmare. George's eyes found Grace's face. Blood bubbled at his lips when he tried to speak. "Worth it," he whispered, so quiet only she could hear. "To finally have the spotlight." His hand reached up, trembling, and touched her cheek, left a smear of red across her skin. Then his eyes went distant, fixed on something beyond her, beyond the stage, beyond the crumbling walls of the Hartley Playhouse. Grace sobbed his name, but he was already gone. The house lights snapped on. Someone backstage finally thinking to end this, to flood the horror with fluorescent reality. But it didn't help. Under the harsh light, it was worse. The blood was redder. George's stillness more absolute. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Sebastian sank to his knees, his hands covering his face. The audience member with the crying woman, who'd talked about her son, was vomiting in the aisle, and Grace held George's body, rocking slowly, whispering apologies he would never hear. The theater would close, of course, not from lack of funding, but because no one would ever perform there again. The building would be condemned within a month, sold to developers within a year. Sebastian's name would be attached to it forever, not as a visionary, but as the director whose stunt killed a man. Grace would leave acting entirely. Some said they'd see her sometimes at coffee shops, staring into space with that haunted look. And George? George got exactly what he wanted. Everyone remembered his name. Everyone talked about his final performance. The Hartley Playhouse's last show became its most famous, not despite the tragedy, but because of it. The Lighthouse had finally gone dark, and in the wreckage, George had become unforgettable.